Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode. It is me, Jordan Young, aka Sneakernomics, and welcome to the very first episode of Sneaker Takes. Takes is kind of like a play on words. You've got politics in there, you've got cold takes in there, and you've got contrasting or opposite takes. It's pretty clever, it's pretty sophisticated. The whole idea of these episodes is to really just chat about what's going on in the world of sneakers at the moment, big news stories, up and coming trends, and to just sort of bounce ideas around. These are really just my thoughts and opinions. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first issue on the table today is, should Adidas continue to sell Yeezy designs in the wake of the Ye bust up? Personally, I think yeah, why not? First and foremost, Adidas were clever with the contract to make sure that they held on to the intellectual property of Yeezy designs. It kind of seems like when they signed the contracts, they afforded all of the rights to the insole of the sneaker to Ye, given that that's the only part of the Yeezy sneakers that bear his name and brand. This was an absolute contractual masterclass, I feel, by Adidas, who retain sole sovereignty over the design of the sneaker, but yet only have to cede sovereignty over the insole, which can be removed and replaced pretty easily. You can imagine the wording in the contract being very ornate and elaborate and verbose and technical, to the point where Ye was probably like, okay, so everything that's got the Yeezy name on it is mine, yeah, and everything else is yours. Okay, signed, done. Where Adidas would have just been like rubbing their hands like, you see, the thing is the Adidas boost are gonna look exactly the same as the Yeezy boost. There's nothing on the Yeezy designs that says Yeezy. There's nothing there to separate a Adidas boost from a Yeezy boost. So I feel like if they were to flood the market with Adidas boosts, or whatever they want to call them, Adidas or whatever, or Adizis, there's no way you're going to be able to determine what sneaker is pre-Ye divorce and post-Ye divorce, and so people just aren't really going to give a shit. Anyway, it's an interesting thing to talk about, and it'll be an interesting set of circumstances to bear witness to. Now on to the next topic of the day, which is the topic around foamposites. We've seen in recent times pictures of the red metallics that are supposed to come out next year, and it's got people out there talking, are foams coming back? Some of you might be thinking, hey, were foams in? And they were. Sort of back in 2010, 11, 12 is where I feel like they started falling off, at least here in the UK. Foams were in, like foams were hype. Foams were reselling. It wasn't just foams, it was Nike basketball. Nike basketball had the sneaker game in a chokehold. People were massively into foamposites. And then you had big banger pairs like the Galaxy foams, the Supreme foams, the Paranormans. There were a number of pretty big pairs of foams that to a lot of people are still grails to this day. So after 10 years, people are starting to think, okay, it's been 10 years, let's get the foams going again. And in more recent times, we've seen a pretty successful collab between Nike, the Foamposite, and Comme des Garçons, with the pretty like crazy design stereo speaker looking foams that were pretty cool and pretty successful. I think for a few people, this supposed renaissance around foamposites will be welcome. A lot of people that grew up in the 90s watching Penny Hardaway play, or people that were around in the sneaker game in the sort of 2010s will remember fondly that era of sneaker culture and will probably be only too happy to welcome it back. You see, right now we're in this era of comfort and quality and casual. You've seen the emergence recently of the like running shoe trend, particularly with brands like New Balance and Asics. And I think going from soft, cushion, comfy runner to big, bulky, cumbersome basketball shoe is probably not gonna happen, at least not right now. The other thing that's going to put people off wanting to buy foams is the price. One of the primary features of foamposites that distinguished them aside from all other shoes of the time was it was the first basketball sneaker to command a $200 price point. And this was, back in the 90s, I don't think people are gonna be looking to spend $250 to $300 plus for a pair of foamposites. So are foams gonna make a comeback in 2023? Nah, I don't think so. Recently we saw images of the Nocta Air Force 1 Low, the Drake shoes. We've also seen images of the OVO Bape collab, and it sort of brings about the question, are Drake sneakers any good? There's something about Drake and his own personal style that I'm just not sure about. Whenever I think of street style, swag, drip, creativity, individuality, creative expression, Drake isn't someone that really comes to mind. I sort of feel like his collabs are sort of reflective of his own sense of style, which is pretty plain, pretty safe, and just a little bit lavish. If you look at most of the stuff that he's collaborated on, or he's created, or been a part of, most of the stuff is pretty black and white, literally. The Jordan 12s that he did, it's either a predominantly black shoe or a white shoe. Same with the 10s. Same thing with the 8s. It's either black or it's white. He couldn't really choose a safer route. I do feel like he kind of pushed the boat out a little bit with the Noctas, the sort of like running / trail shoes that came out alongside this apparel line that seems like it was piggybacking on the whole Gorpcore trend, unless I'm mistaken and it was part of the popularization of it, I'm not sure. But Drake always seems to me to just be very safe with his stuff. I guess it's kind of similar to his music. It's very generic stuff, it's very mainstream stuff, it's very safe stuff. It's the sort of stuff that you know is going to be popular and well received, but it doesn't really push any envelopes or occupy any space outside of the proverbial box. So for those reasons, I would generally tend to say that Drake's sneakers and his collabs are pretty boring, pretty banal, pretty basic, and pretty crap. The next thing I want to touch on is the interesting issue around the Air Jordan 2. Over the past year, we have seen a massive push by Nike and Jumpman to try to create a renaissance around the Jordan 2. The Jordan 2 has always kind of been one of those shoes that just cropped up randomly in a crap colorway, kind of went unnoticed, hit the sales, sat in the outlets, and never really got seized upon by anyone other than serious collectors who just needed a pair of 2s to have 1 through 14. Since the Off-Whites, we have seen a number of collabs. In fact, this year has been the year of the Jordan 2 collabs. Like, we've had the Maison Chateau Rouge, the Unions, the Ama Manière, the J Balvin's. There's been some 2 Low collabs. The 2 has been thoroughly collaborated with this year. Ultimately, people don't like the 2 because it looks too much like a bowling shoe. A lot of people, when they look at this shoe, are going to be having thoughts of 7-10 splits and drinking beers and throwing gutter balls. So as much as it feels like Nike tried to really craft a narrative around the 2 by giving them some really exclusive collaborative treatment, it seems like that whole venture kind of fell flat a little bit. The main reason I'd say this is because a lot of the 2s that have dropped this year have sat, and a lot of them have gone on to perform pretty poorly in the resale market, and a lot of 2s that people thought were going to do quite well at one point have actually ended up going on sale. On the flip side, you could say that 2s have become popular for a lot of people that would not have otherwise been into them were they not given the collaborative treatment. A lot of people now have 2s in their collection where they didn't have them in years past. So it depends kind of which way you look at it, but I would say ultimately it's been a bit of a flop given how much effort they've put into it. And that's this week's episode of Sneaker Polar Takes. I hope you enjoyed listening to my opinion on some of these issues, and if you disagree or agree, let me know in the comments, and also let me know in the comments if there's any other issues or topics that you'd like me to address in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate the audience. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care for now, and peace.